All right, I'm glad to see Alex and Jack here. I know we'll have some others join us, so we're a few minutes out from the start of class. And see Kristen, yeah, we're starting to populate up a group of us there. Very good. Now, others who join us will be able to get caught up just by doing a quick rewind. But here we are, we're at chapter 9, week 9. And I think I spoke about the interactive session that's due and the management decision problem, And I took you through some of those recommendations of PC Magazine, just kind of a recap of what we did Monday. And then just briefly, I showed you the link to that COAST article, and I think you'll want to take a look at it. There are several theorems that COAST proposes. The one in there is the issue of transaction costs, and that simply is if a firm can do something cheaper internally, it will do so. But if it costs it more, if they can do it more cheaply by using a vendor, okay, they'll do that. And so that's why we have outsourcing, because firms want to reduce those transaction costs, also known as friction. There are some other concepts in there that COAST speaks about, and one of them is the issue of externalities. And I want you to go over there and take a look at it, because it talks about consequences of what firms do, and also things such as the social cost of what firms do. And for example, take a Facebook, all right? And let's say that someone is bullied on Facebook, and it becomes this issue where the law enforcement people are involved, and maybe something cataclysmic happens, okay? Some young person takes their life because they've been bullied so much that they decide to do that. There's a social cost attached to that, and people like COAST say firms need to take that into account, as does society as a whole, because we produce sometimes these unintended consequences. And one of the unintended consequences of technology, social media, seem to have the biggest surprises in store for us, is because we keep getting these unintended consequences, like people no longer being able to trust a source, being concerned about, is a news source trustworthy or fake, etc. And so that type of issue erodes public trust in institutions. It erodes trust between people, and we have some of the terrible things. COAST would argue that, for example, Facebook would say, well, it's not our fault, okay, that a bunch of people down in Charleston who are of a particular persuasion used our platform to plan a gigantic rally where a bunch of them came and they had guns and they beat people up and all this kind of crazy stuff. Facebook would say, it's not our fault. But now, after they've been called into Congress a few times, they're dealing with some government. They're getting some blowback from the government, some also from the public, about, hey, you need to control this kind of thing. So the article there, that article, or really that post there about COAST, is very, very good, and it's filled with some good ways to think about technology, as well as some good ways just to think about how we do business, etc. But really, technology is one that is a prime candidate for that, for the very simple reason. Every time we have a new technology come on board, it changes things. It changes how we do business. It changes the attitudes of people. It allows us to put together groups of people from around the world, okay? And it allows us to respond to things that we've not been able to respond to in real time before. And probably it's one of the biggest impacts that it's having is this issue of customization, of producing things. And so I had this resource here for you to go over, and I want to just take just a few minutes and just talk about it again, the 4 phases of mass customization. Now, when you think about this, okay, you're thinking about, a very, very, very radical approach or way of doing business. You say, now, what do you mean? Well, when we do mass production of goods, we make a whole bunch of the same stuff. We try to tap into some advantages that we get by doing that. If we build something on a mass basis, we get better and better at doing it because we're making the same thing over and over, and it's called the learning curve. Okay, and we know that people who make things, there's a learning curve, and they about by the 4th or 5th iteration, they tend to be about at least 20 to 40% better. Over time, they can get even much, much better because with repetition, they learn how to do things differently, etc. Okay, so we're able also to tap into, with mass production, we're able to tap into the idea of hitting the optimal amount of goods. And if you follow a marginal cost curve, it starts at the left and it comes up and then it peaks. And after a certain number of units, marginal cost goes on. So we can optimize, or we can try to find that sweet spot where we make stuff at the cheapest level possible so we can sell it and make it and make a good profit. Well, mass customization has changed all of that. And this really started back in the 1980s, 1970s, when we first introduced computers into the development, used computers, what we call computer-aided design and computer-aided machining, CAD, CAM, to make things. And the first things that we started making were clothing. Now, at the time when I was down at Southeast Missouri State University, and this is in the middle of the 80s, Hager, which is a brand name of clothes, had a pretty sizable plant down in the boot heel of Missouri. And I was at Cape Girardeau at Southeast Missouri State. Some of you may know that part of the country. Yeah, I was down there 5 years. But to make a long story short, Hager, I went out with a bunch of folks to observe what they were doing, and Hager had bought a computer-aided machine. And what this thing, they could program it, and it would cut pieces, okay, that went into pants. Now, what made this such a significant thing for them was that this machine could be running all night long, okay, and have maybe one operator there to oversee it. And then in the morning, they'd shut the thing down, and the rest of the morning, the human beings would do the assembly, okay, and get the stuff out the door. And assembly meaning they'd take 2 pieces, the front and the back of a trouser, okay, and sew the inseam that you have. And so that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And of course, now it's grown way, way, way beyond what anyone imagined. And as I mentioned in class, the 3D printers of the world, the 3D printers are going to completely revolutionize, I think, certainly home products like glasses, cups, dinnerware, things that don't have parts in them, okay, where you go buy a kit and you use your 3D printer and make a set of china. Now, if it's going to be expensive, you'll get really expensive material to make it, and that's just you're just going to see that go along. Now, this article here, and I believe this is out of HBR. Yeah, it's a reprint. Talks about those four faces or four approaches. Okay, and in terms of that, this first one in which the customer and the customer and the vendor are in a dialogue about what they need, okay, and how things will go, and that's typically something you'll see when stuff is contracted out between two companies. They'll have a contract on how they're going to, what will be produced, and a whole set of specifications and all that business. That's a fairly common way in business transactions that things get handled out. Now, it's in many ways, it's really no different than when you sit down in a restaurant, okay, and you order, let's say you order a burger and fries, and then you're asked, okay, well, what all do you want on the burger? At that point, you're doing mass customization because they're going to sell hamburgers. They just add whatever things that you ask for. So but again, it's about establishing what people call a sense of intimacy with the customer, because when you're selling them something that they customize, that they want, their brand loyalty is much, much higher. So that's one of those four approaches. And I walk you through this. Here's another, a standard but customizable product designed so that users can alter it themselves. Okay, and there are, I would say, probably that's this type of customization. It's really very subtle. Okay, you say, well, what do you mean? Well, if you're a coffee drinker, okay, as I am, and you realize that you can go to the store and I can buy about 6 or 7 different flavors of creamer, non-dairy creamer, for my coffee. Or you can buy, my wife buys dairy creamer that has a certain flavor, and that's a way that you can take coffee, and you have a standard product, but you customize it yourself, and that's really. So what happens is what happens is you will often become less brand conscious than you are flavor conscious. Okay, if that makes any sense whatsoever. These are things that information technology can provide and can be used to a company's advantage. And they walk on through again through the rest of this article, a standard product differently to different customers. You see that all the time. And these are transparent customizers. Okay, I think I told you the story of my wife and I bought our house about 2 years ago or so, and we just decided to use Quicken Loans. Okay, and it was interesting because as we were on there, the guy he had documents he'd sent to us, and we were going through the documents as he was online, and he'd pop up a PDF of the document. He'd go, okay, now this, yeah. And that was when I got that. We had a line of credit within hours. And when I was your age, for most of you, when you went to the bank to borrow money to buy a house, it was a long, arduous journey. That's about the only way to describe it. So this is a good article for you to take a look at, because again, the ability to transmit information on a global scale, the ability, as we're coming more and more, to take information and translate it into physicality through things like an electric printer, it's going to become, we're going to see a whole new, I think, renaissance in the way that people make things, in the way that goods are produced. And I think the one that has the most potential is going to be virtual reality. I think no one has even thought through what that would be like. But think of it for a moment that instead of going to IMAX, you have a virtual reality room at your house, or you have a machine that will create one for you. Why would you go to IMAX? IMAX, I'll have the experience here, okay? And those kinds of things, streaming services, etc., are really going to change that business. And it's one of those things where I know all of you do it with music, okay? Now I'm gonna say I have a huge bias. I hate Spotify. I don't like it because it tries to tell me what I want to listen to next. So I have the premium version of it for a very simple reason. I want to hear what I want to hear. I don't feel like experimenting and hearing some ignorant song that I don't like, or some genre that just doesn't click for me. So I buy the premium so I can choose and build my own playlists. But Spotify understands that, and they literally are allowing people to build their own playlists, and that is a form of mass customization. Nobody calls into a radio station today and listens for so-and-so disc jockey from 6 to 8 o'clock because that's the coolest disc jockey in town. That's about that went away about 60 years ago. Now it's everybody with their iPad or their Android or whatever listening device they have doing that business. And one of the things that I found, and we talk about manufactured goods and the use of MIS, the company that makes my bike, I have a stationary bike I ride, okay, and the company that produces it has the thing has a screen, okay, and I can access it, different workouts via the internet. And the really cool thing is I can go out there and I can find other people working out. So if it's somebody my age and profile, and so it's almost like if you're looking for a workout partner, and there's some more high-end systems like that are advertised on television. You find some, I've got a guy out in Ohio. We are usually somewhere in a framework of about 10:30, 11:30 at night, and we ride about 25, 30, maybe 45 minutes, and we'll be able to engage. And I just thought this is fantastic for the simple reason that I'm here and he's over there, and we're riding, we're talking and chatting, all this stuff. But that's one of those ways that technology can alter the experience that a customer has. So I want you to take a look at this one as well, a little more closely, because these different approaches can be achieved using technology. And in fact, often technology is what will drive them. So I want to encourage you to take a look at it. Now, I had another resource there for you. And this deals with why, this is from the HuffPost, and they talk about why mass customization is the future of consumer products. And it's very simple. People want what they want right now. They want instant gratification. They want exactly what they want. The people that started this, McDonald's really started this whole thing rolling. There was back in the 60s, you had some food chains that were starting to emerge, but McDonald's and then Kentucky Fried Chicken were just like from a whole different planet, and they used mass customization to the nth degree in order to build their marketplace. And I would say this: when you go into a fast food place these days, take a look at the menu, and what you're going to discover is that there are 3 or 4, maybe 5 staple products that are made in all kinds of different ways. Okay, so that fast food company can produce 30 or 40 items or whatever for their menu on the basis of how they handle or treat, say, half a dozen things, like how they handle hamburgers, how they handle, how they handle steak, how they handle chicken, etc. Do I want small fries or large fries? And all of this stuff, it's people want what they want when they want it, and they want things customized. And as I think in close, we're going to see the next big change with this, where people are, we're going to move, people are going to find, and some of you may use this already, there's going to be a way you can use the phone to get a to get a picture of you so you can determine what size and all this stuff, and you'll have your pair of pants delivered to you in 8 hours, and you can try them on, or if your shirt, if it fits, etc. And it's just a matter of time before that the experience of buying any article of clothing will not be like it is where you just walk in and you take something off the rack. You may have the base product that you maybe go into a dressing room, turn on the computer, and it sizes it for you, okay? And then you order it and it shows up. That type of thing is coming, and you don't believe me, but it's on the way if it's already here. So, and the reason we do it is this: people hear so much information in terms of, they get bombarded with commercials, okay? They get bombarded with pop-up ads. They get bombarded with stuff stuck in the newspaper, coupons. And people are they're saturated with advertising, and they don't even want to see it. My wife and I will watch, we're baseball fans, so we'll watch baseball, and we'll see the same ad run 57,000 times, to the certain point where I go mute it, because I can't stand to hear it anymore. They're funny at first, etc., but you get tired of hearing it after a while. Okay, and again, everybody is different, and because they're different, you can charge premiums or offer discounts. You can build brand loyalty and intimacy by giving people something perfectly tailored to their needs and what they want. And that's why mass customization is the future. You'll have clothing that, for example, I believe that's very generic, but it's just not going to be the same. And this is especially going to be, all of you who have seen me know from class, I'm a large person, okay? And you can imagine I wear large shoes, and it's frustrating. So any pair of shoes I get today, I have to go online and order them. And there are a couple of places. There's one that's especially good about getting me a shoe that fits, because otherwise nothing's out there. And what I've learned is that this is, it works this way or if you're a very small person, there are a few average people, okay, very few that can just walk in, say, to a J.C. Penney's, or walk into a Dillard's or anywhere, and boom, the stuff fits them. And I wonder, why do you carry this on your shelves? It's just ludicrous. You don't sell it, so they carry a lot of inventory they don't need to. So it's why I think you want to see. And again, it helps you understand um, how technology can be leveraged in this way. All right. Now, there is another resource, and this is one I think is really fun. And this is what I will want you to do today. And this is building a car online, selecting a make, a model, etc., and what you want. And I think this is Toyota Motor Company, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the truth is, you can go to almost any car manufacturer, and they'll have at their site, and they'll have a way for you to build the thing and price it at the same time. Okay, high-end vehicles, their websites are designed to let you build the vehicle, see what the price will be, and it still boggles my mind. And then you'll be able to go and look at a 360 view, look around the car, see what it looks like to sit inside of it, all this stuff, and then you order your car. I think eventually automobile dealerships will be nothing more than a series of virtual reality rooms where you sit down and you drive a Corvette and see what it feels like. You drive a Range Rover through a mountainous trek to get a feeling, or you ford a river with one of the things, and you see what that sensation's like, what it's really like. And it's a matter of time before it happens. One of the things about your generation, those of you who are millennials, is that you've traveled a lot more than your parents will ever travel. Many of you I know do go trips, or you travel, and your generation, as people observe, see you as a bunch of travelers. And because you are, you're more into the experience of things than you are with just, I went to England, but you want experiences. Now also things like take the Olympics, Winter Olympics, for example, and how snowboarders got into that, and it's become a very popular event, and extreme games and things of that nature. And it's just because you are an experience-based group of people, and experiences are what you're after. And that's really, that makes a ton of sense because of how you've grown up in a world saturated with technology, and you've had those experiences, and so it's since you're that major market that's on the way, folks are going to have to be mindful of that. But here it is, you can build your own car, which I think is just a fascinating thing, and I like to do it sometimes. If I've got some time, I'll go over to Land Rover or go over to Jaguar or something like that, and I'll put a car together, and 95 or 100 grand later, I go, well, it's just like my mom told me, I've got champagne taste and I've got beer for a budget. So, but it's cool to get, and I know that those sites are just going to get better and better and better because people are going to want that. And I have noticed, and I hang around automobile places a lot, because I think it tells you a lot about people and what they're after and what they like. And it's a way for me to kind of see how are people responding to all these new technologies, because if there's anywhere where MIS is really being used, it's in the automotive world. And it just fascinates me that people will make purchase decisions on things that they would have never even dreamed that they were making. How much Wi-Fi access, how many USB ports, all this kind of stuff in a car. So it's fascinating stuff. So I would encourage you to go in, build your car, select a make, a model, and away you go. So, and again, it's a great site to look at because it gives you some announcements about that. Now, here is a website that talks about creating your own home design software. You're designing your home software that will let you do what only high-end architects could do. So if you're a home builder or an architect, okay, you have to be aware that this is here, and consumers can see this stuff and use it for themselves and say, I'd like my home built like X, Y, and Z. No, I don't want to use the kits that you shove at us. I want my home to be my home, how it looks, and as unique as possible. And we're gonna see that. And there's going to be a lot of pushback from the builders and folks like that, because they like to use cookie cutters and use the same material over and over and over, so they can customize, so they can get the costs in line with what they want or need in terms of the end of a manufacturing run. So again, a good site for you to go take a look at and to play with and to think your way through some of this stuff. Now, again, we use mass customization as a means, okay, to reach and have what we call customer intimacy, and that is where the customer is fully engaged with the product as it's developed, or fully engaged with finding different ways to use that product. And we're really at the tip of the iceberg as far as that type of thing goes. But it's on its way, and don't be surprised here by the time you are out and your parents, that your kids are screaming at you to buy the latest molding or the latest kit so they can make a particular toy. And I'm going to tell you, it's coming sooner than later. And that is, in a lot of these movies that appeal to young kids up to maybe at the tweener age, they're going to start to put a barcode up on the screen at the end of the movie where you can pop that baby with your phone, and it will take you out to more content, say more parts or endings of the movie, and or we'll take you out there and we'll say, okay, Keith Harmon's here. He wants a Diet Dr. Pepper, a large popcorn, and what would be Junior Mints waiting for him as he comes up here, or a barcode embedded that when you click on it, it takes you to all of the products that are being sold, like say like a Disney movie. Many of you probably have stuff at home that when mom and dad and you went to the movies and you saw different movies, you got a toy, and maybe it's all thrown in. Who knows? But that mass customization is a way for that to drive it. So some things you can play with, and being gamers, so many of you, this is kind of old hat to you. Now here's another with building your own Nikes, okay? And again, you could go in and start to make your shoes and have them designed. This is, I thought, quite similar to the site that they had at K-Swiss. I think I showed everybody my shoes Tuesday that I designed, okay? And I've got about 6 or 7 of those with different colors, and they're K-Swiss, they're tubes. I know they're out of style. I don't care. At this point, I want to know, are those babies comfortable and are they breathable? Okay. If you need something to, for action, to play ball, whatever, get that. But for my money, I want those shoes for a different reason. And they're fantastic shoes. And I designed I designed, I think, about 6 or 7 of them at the K-Swiss site. So here they've got, again, some ways for you to make your shoes, to customize them. And again, this is a way to create customer intimacy, because once they have all of your measurement data that you give them and type data, then really it makes it that much easier for them to send you email alerts or whatever, okay? So again, you're using those enterprise systems to your advantage. And it's just the way of the world. And if you wonder why the malls get emptier and emptier and fewer, it's simply this. The shopping experience in the next 25 years will be driven by the cloud. It will be driven by mass customization, and it will be driven by you coming in to pick it up or someone bringing the stuff to you. And there will be somebody out there who's going to come up with a way just to put some type of a pod and attach it to your concrete floor or whatever and lock the thing up and leave your stuff there. I think there may be one of these folks like FedEx UPS that has a locker system, okay? And it's just a matter of time before they get that all perfected, and you order stuff and you just, when it's there, and you don't worry about it being in the rain or any of that stuff. So again, this is a part of IT that requires some really high-end work and high-end computational skills, but it can pay big dividends if you really do want that customer to feel that sense of intimacy, and meaning this product is really designed for my needs. It really fits my needs, okay? Now, I'm going to give what I'm doing as an example, all right? You're all sitting here listening to this. There are some of us in our class who are not here. They're going to listen to this when it's convenient for them. And as I've said before, okay, believe me, I've sat through lectures just as boring as mine or far more boring. And I would have died and gone to heaven if I would have had a recording that I could play it like a video of a lecture. And you still may go to those with your pencil, and you're riding along and your pencil breaks, and suddenly you don't get the 6 major points that Dr. So-and-so wanted to share with you, and you're out of luck. And that'll be the stuff that'll show up on the test. I've done that. Listen, I was an undergraduate. I used to take 5 pencils and 3 pens, and I had practically had everything from Staples. So if my pen broke, I could keep writing because I didn't want to miss anything. There were a few students who bring tape recorders, but it kind of made everybody a little bit sketchy. So you've got this fantastic thing that we do now where you can scroll through this and chunk through it as you do and use it. I think what's amazing to me is all of the instructional stuff that's out there on YouTube. And again, it's all about mass customization. As you can see, they're starting to ask me, do I want to do some offers, that type of bizwax. And so they know I'm sitting here, and they're wondering, is he going to buy something or what's he going to do? Okay, now I have 1 or 2 more things, and this is something now here that I want to visit with you about. Now, we've gone about 35 minutes, and each of our classes are 75 minutes a pop, okay? And you're supposed to have 150 minutes of instruction every week. So I try to go the hour and 15 minutes. But if I have included these links to the TED Talks for a very simple reason, okay? This is a way for me to bring some of the finest and most cutting edge ideas and minds out there without having to pay them to come here, okay? Or with having to pack all of you up and fly them out to see them give their TED Talk. TED Talk is a fantastic, fantastic resource, and I use it because these speakers really has some very insightful things to say. So I populate each of these modules with what I think are a TED Talk that's useful to you. Now, this is a piece of mass customization that's really going to change things. I think I've probably shared with you that our insurance carrier is Aetna, and Aetna has a virtual doctor. I can beam in there at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, and they have my information, and they say, well, we'll send a prescription to Walgreens, or go and get this over-the-counter medication or whatever. And I've done it a couple of times just to see what the experience is like. And I got to tell you something. It's a lot better than paying $200 to sit in one of these clinics where you're not quite sure who that person is. Are they really a doctor? And do they really know what they're talking about after I've sat through? And I'm there and I've got a broken foot and I'm waiting and a kid with a mosquito bites in front of me. You get my drift. Now, there's going to be a point in time where that doctor will be some type of virtual presence or some type of robot or AI machine that will answer your questions. And then if you're still not anywhere, a human being will intervene. And I think that we're going to see that. We've already seen, and people in the medical field are way ahead of everybody else. And let's say that say John Hopkins, that hospital, they say, hey, we're going to do some kind of really specialized heart project, surgery. Well, they have people beam in from all over the world watching that technique and recording it so they can figure out how to do it. Medical people have been doing this for a long time and sharing their knowledge with each other in that way, especially around some of those techniques. So I hope you'll go out and take a look at these. And again, as you're viewing, you can stop, you can start, you can use this to scroll through. And this is a way, okay, that I allow you to customize each lecture to your needs. And if you go, I got that, and forward or back or whatever you choose to do. And if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to get transcripts. So you've got the notes right there. Now, this is an excellent TED Talk about the secret shopping industry. This talks about box packing and the manufacturing process in IT. Certainly, MIS is certainly key to that. Okay, when I will go out every now and then to the Chronicle of Higher Education and some other publications that also will list jobs. And I know many of you are going, please find one and leave. I understand, but you'll see, and I'll look at the qualifications that they're asking, and it blows me away. Marketing particularly is one that just absolutely blows the roof off the top, because I want people who come in and they know Python and they can do this and they can work with big data and they understand about logistics and all this stuff. All of these things are being driven by MIS and our ability to take enterprise computing, okay, that enterprise level computing, and link them all together so that everything's like in one is syncing all together. And here's I think another interesting TED Talk. You may have gone to these and looked at them. Let me say this: if you looked at these between Monday and now, which I doubt, but I'll have faith that one or two of you did, go back and look for some similar talks. Okay. The cool thing about TED is this: you can sit and listen and absorb all of it, or you can scroll through and stop, or you can get the transcript and read the transcript. Now, I do a lot of continuing education through a place called Coursera. You've probably heard it. They have these things called MOOCs. I'm taking a course right now on fintech. And I love it because as I'm watching, okay, and the instructors are folks over in Europe, so I have a closed caption. And then the transcript, and wherever they're at in the transcript, I can click a link and it will take me to something that will explain what they meant, which is just fantastic. And then I come back and I go, okay, well, that's what they were talking about. Okay, well, there's something else I need to see in the study. So we really haven't seen, we just really haven't seen where this will go, where this will all go. I would say this: when your kids go to college, okay, and they go into Canvas 2098 or whatever, they will go through a series of exercises where that learning management system will diagnose exactly how your son or daughter learns best. Are they tactile learners? Are they visual learners? Do they learn by hearing, etc.? And I'm certain that part of the college admissions process will be at a certain point where you'll beam in and you'll be given these standardized tests and they'll know what to do with you. I think the ACT and the SAT are probably going to be transformed radically within the next 25 or 30 years, so that you'll be responding to a more immersive kind of environment. So there's some great stuff out here. This is one that I think is absolutely a great TED Talk because it talks about the next manufacturing revolution and what does that mean for companies. And again, this is that issue where the product sells itself. I don't know how else to put it, or the service sells itself because it's fitted precisely to your needs, okay? And we're just going to see more and more of this. This is a great talk, and I encourage you to go listen to it. In fact, I think I told everybody it's required. And this one especially, okay, about your company data and world hunger is, I think, it's just a fascinating video. Now, I realize I've been talking now for quite a while, all right? I understand that. I've been going now for 45 minutes. And this is one of my favorite parts of the course for the very simple reason that it really, people don't understand how much technology is changing our society till they interact with it in personal products, okay? It's at that point that you go, wow, it really is changing everything. And so I would encourage you to go back up, like make your own car or that type of thing. And if you haven't visited these TED Talks and listened to them, do so that you know what might be coming and what the finest minds out there are saying, okay? If you're going to be a C-level person, you say, what do you mean by that? What I call a corporate level person, a partner, an owner, or someone who's head of a major division of a company. You're going to have to be thinking at a far deeper level than business people did before. You're just going to have to. It's not as simple today as it used to be. And I was watching the news yesterday, and this was some kind of an issue. It was an issue that had come up between Walmart and some other company, Walmart, Target, and a couple of, I think, Kroger and some other food retailers, okay? And what it was about was packaging. And one company wanted the product in one type of package, the other wanted it in another type of package, and yet the third wanted it in another. Why? Simple. they have shelf space that they want to design, and they want to carry the maximum amount of product they can get in that shelf space, because the shelf space in a retail outlet is where stuff's laid out in a very precise way so you get the profits you can get. The profit margin in retail groceries is about 1, maybe 2%. So you better sell a lot of stuff. And placement of those goods and how they're arranged is absolutely critical to a store's success. So it was interesting as I listened, as I read that, and I thought, well, this is fascinating stuff. That these 3 different companies are having a battle over how the product will be packaged. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I think I've gone about as far as I want to go with this today. Okay. And I'm going to say this. I want you, please go back and look at these if you've not done so. There's a good 35, 40 minutes in here, as I said. And I want you to try something. After you've looked at them, okay, as you look at each one of them, okay, get the transcript. And you don't even have to download. You can just cut and paste the thing into a text document or a Word doc. I think you can even just straight download it and have it, and then use that like a book, and then go back and look at the lectures. Or as you're watching, stop at the point you say, I've seen enough for now, and mark that at what time, at the day, at the hour and the minute time. Okay. I know I've lost some of you. Some of you may be asleep. That's why I mute all the sounds and the video. Some of you may be sitting there reading something else. Who knows? But you see, the information that you wanted is in a package, and you can open that package any way you want to. And it's the same with these TED Talks. And when you go and you look at one of these, if there's one that's of great particular interest to you, all right, follow it on and find out what else is there, all right? Because it's simple. When I first started teaching, I would have thought I'd died and gone to heaven if I could bring into the classroom the kinds of astute and innovative and cutting-edge people that have something to say about the course, the topic, and the structure, the subject matter. And in this case, this is a fantastic lineup of people who talk about customization and manufacturing, and how information technology and MIS is used to change that totally. And it's exciting stuff. And the reason it's exciting stuff to me is people are going to be able to get, especially I think in clothing, they're going to experience a great revolution in having stuff that fits, that lasts long, that works with maybe several outfits, whatever. But they will have designed it. I think it's to be the same with almost every consumer good. Now, how they will do it with food, I don't know. I do know that the delivery versus you pick it up is going to be the next great battle out there as we try to figure out how to route things and all of that. And that's for a whole different day and a whole different discussion. Folks, I thank you so much for beaming in, okay? And I'm going to stop now. Does anybody have any questions I could try to answer for you? Anybody? Okay. Well, if you don't, you know what you've got to do for the week. You know what this required reading is. These required guest lectures, these videos from TED. And, at some point, as I've said before, I may put some extra credit with these. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them yet. And I do, though, want to use them to their best advantage, and that is to have you watch them and gain from the knowledge and the perspective of these people. And this is something that will go way beyond your textbook. And so that's what I try to do, is give you things that extend the information that's presented to you in your textbook. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And you know what your assignments are due, when they're due, and all that business. So I will see all of you next Monday. Thanks a lot, and have a good one.